When many people read that 150 RPM hand cannons were getting removed, and by proxy that is kind of a hand cannon time to kill nerf, a lot of people are thinking, well, where does that leave auto rifles? Today, for our last piece of major discussion from the Sandbox preview TWAB, we're going to be talking about auto rifles and their strength in comparison to hand cannons, and if they'll truly remain to be quote-unquote OP or overpowered. Because I think that's a lot of people's first assumptions. I remember seeing on my Twitter feed when these changes first got announced in the TWAB, a lot of people are saying, well, auto rifles are still going to be by proxy as strong as they currently are. And today I want to dissect that. I want to look at the current state of autos and hand cannons and compare that to what it might look like going forward after the changes. So taking a look at our current sandbox, auto rifles are currently doing 25 critical hit damage and 16 damage to the body. This gives them a 0.7 optimal time to kill, 0.7 seconds, taking 7 crit 1 body, and a 1.2 second body shot time to kill, taking 13 body shots. So because we're not looking at things in a vacuum here, and we're not just looking at best and worst, a more even attempt to look at a more better side of average time to kill. So if you miss 2 headshots or hit 5 crit 5 body, that'll actually be a 0.9 second average time to kill. And of course, our current best hand cannons, the 150 RPMs that will be going away, currently hit a 0.8 optimal time to kill with 3 critical hits, a 1.2 second base time to kill with 5 body shots, and a 1.2 second average time to kill, taking 1 crit 3 body. Really important to mention here though that we do lose the ability to 3 tap or 3 crit at around 30 meters or so. This of course changes depending on if you have perks like rangefinder, opening shot, etc. But just as a general average scenario, let's say hand cannons usually lose the ability to 3 tap at around 30 meters. Currently, as it stands, auto rifles greatly punish hand cannons for missing their optimal time to kill. Auto rifles are inherently more forgiving for missing shots. An 8-shot kill on an auto rifle currently is 0.7 seconds optimal, a 9-shot becomes 0.8, a 10-shot becomes 0.9. That is far less of a gap than missing 1 shot with a hand cannon, where a 3-shot right now with a hand cannon is 0.8, 4-shot increases quite significantly to 1.2, and 5-shot 1.6 goes on and onwards. In the same way that auto rifles are inherently more forgiving for missing singular shots, they're also less impacted by resilience and damage drop off. If you get to that resilience value that gives auto rifles 1 extra shot to kill, that's not nearly as impactful as, let's say, if we were to be able to make hand cannons take an extra shot to kill, of course. And by that same logic, if you get a bit of damage drop off with an auto rifle, it's actually not really impacting your time to kill that much. For example, in the current auto rifle balancing, I think the Summoner, as I mentioned in a video review of it, gets damage drop off at 28 meters, but maintains a 9-shot kill up to 35 meters, where it gets a 0.8 second time to kill with that. Now, although auto rifles do have those very forgiving benefits, they also have some not so forgiving trade-offs. Auto rifles are tracking weapons, and what this means is they require you to keep your crosshairs on your target 100% of the time through their time to kill. They require more time on target than that of hand cannons. And this means a few things. This means they inherently struggle against players playing cover well, let's say with a hand cannon, because they don't do high damage and they need to remain on target. And if they're not remaining on target, and since they're not doing high damage like a hand cannon, their time to kill really suffers against that. And because auto rifles do require so much time on target for a good kill time, they do get punished by flinch pretty hard as well. And in contrast to hand cannons, the hand cannons deal some of the highest flinch per shot because of their damage output. Now, because of these trade-offs I mentioned, and please have mercy on me before I say this, I think I'm about to say something relatively controversial. I think hand cannons and autos are actually decently well balanced. Like, they both have a pretty unique amount of trade-offs. That being said though, I am with most of the community in the opinion that I think auto rifles, although they do have shortcomings, even at a high level though, auto rifles still have or allow a lot of ease of use. And while having the degree of ease of use or lack of punishment that they have, they put too much pressure on hand cannons or players using hand cannons to perform perfectly nearly 100% of the time. I still believe that for the best players in the game, the top level players, hand cannons are going to be the best weapons in the game and the best options. And I think this problem definitely shows itself more at the mid-level, mid-skill level play. Not trying to be offensive, I'm just being honest, where I see these problems being a little bit more pronounced. However, again, even at that top level, in their current state, auto rifles, in my opinion, put too much pressure on even a top level hand cannon player to just be playing perfect 100% of the time. This means always having cover. This means always hitting 3 crits. And I think that just is a little too much pressure on the side of auto rifles, or in favor for auto rifles in this auto hand cannon matchup. So of course in the TWAB, with all the other changes, we are getting a 600 RPM auto rifle nerf. This means their damage is being scaled down now to 14.25 damage to the body. If we run our previous 1.56 times critical hit modifier based on our old numbers through that, it means we're going to be hitting for 22.25 critical hit damage. So what do those damage numbers mean? Well, that means auto rifles, the 600 RPMs, are going to get a 0.8 second optimal time to kill, taking 8 crit 1 body, so 1 additional bullet, and that's until an estimated 5 resilience, where it then becomes 9 critical hits afterwards, and that's 88% precision requirement for that. For their base time to kill, all body shots is going to be a 1.3 second base time to kill, and for a more better side of average time to kill, you could probably get a 1 second average time to kill, and that'll have you missing 3 headshots and result in taking 5 crit, 6 body, 46% precision again for that 1 second time to kill. Comparing that to our new but old hand cannons, are now all 140 hand cannons that people will most likely gravitate towards most, we're going to be getting a 0.87 second optimal time to kill with 3 critical hits. That's 100% precision, but of course less time on target between shots. It'll have a 1.73 second base time to kill with 5 body shots, but a 1.3 second very attainable average time to kill, taking 1 crit 3 body. Of course, that's only 25% precision for that. And it's important to mention again that we will lose the ability to 3-tap, most likely at around 37 or 38 meters. Based on some of the calculations I made in a previous video talking about the hand cannon changes, we can expect Ace to have a 3-tap or damage range before seeing damage drop off of 35 meters. Naturally, 140s, because of the damage they deal, get to 3-tap just a little further out from that. Even when you're getting damage drop off, you can still 3-tap for a little bit more range than when you start getting damage drop off. So expect the 3-tap range to be about 37-38 meters, give or take, not including if you have rangefinder, opening shot, etc. I think with this nerf, auto rifles are going to be more in line with other weapons time to kills, with less ability to just melt you before being able to get into cover and lose harder to players playing cover well, so that's good. Previously, missing a single headshot with an auto turned it into a 6 crit 3 body 9 shot kill, still a 0.8 second time to kill, but now missing a headshot makes it a 7 crit 3 body with a 0.9, which I think is a bit healthier and actually again even more in line with the 3 crit optimal of the 140 hand cannons. And for that matter, even the lightweight scout rifle's optimal time to kill is 0.9 seconds. And it's not exactly difficult to miss a single headshot with an auto rifle. But really, when I'm taking a look at this, when I'm comparing the new autos to the new but old, of course, hand cannons, the time to kills still seem kind of relative to what they are currently. Yeah, it's a little bit more condensed, a 0.87 versus a 0.8, but the average time to kill of an auto rifle, or I guess the better side of average that I calculated, of 1 second, is still most likely going to punish a hand cannon player for missing their 3-tap. However, I really think that the range changes to hand cannons are going to change things more than anything and alleviate a lot of the pressure that auto rifles put on them or the players using them in one-on-one gunfights. Currently, auto rifle range on average, they start getting damage drop off at around 28 meters, so let's say maybe 28 to 30 meters. That's actually nearly the exact same as hand cannons before these approaching changes, so in our current sandbox right now. But we know that right now in our current sandbox, despite having the same range roughly, or same range before experiencing damage drop off, auto rifles both care less about damage drop off because they're not as punished by singular bullets changing their time to kill, but also hand cannons get way more harsh damage drop off and see a difference to their time to kill way sooner than auto rifles, and that difference to the hand cannon time to kill is also way more impactful than auto rifles shift. But now with the upcoming sandbox and hand cannons having a 37 to 38 meter 3 crit range, at least basing it off of Ace of Spades, I fully expect hand cannons to be able to compete with auto rifles in the majority of engagements much better, simply because you aren't just losing your ability to 3-tap, that ability that you so much so need to kill auto rifles, and if you're not given that opportunity to even get the 3-tap, regardless of your skill level, you cannot compete with auto rifles. And I think that's the biggest problem in the current sandbox that we have right now. So you might be asking then, why wouldn't they just buff hand cannon range? Why did they have to get rid of 150 RPM hand cannons? Now, I cover my opinions on that a lot in my previous video about hand cannon changes and why I think this is overall a good thing for the health of the game in terms of primary versus primary and primary balancing across the board. But I think these changes were overall made because both 600 RPM auto rifles and 150 RPM hand cannons were dominating other weapons in the sandbox. Like, there's really not much room for any other weapons. They were the clear best and are the clear best. But 600 RPM autos needed a nerf to their damage or time to kill to be overall fixed and give other weapons room to breathe, and hand cannons needed a range buff to be better balanced against autos. But if you buff the range of 150 RPM hand cannons, that probably put them in a position to pretty well be dominating the rest of the majority of weapons in the game, similar to how auto rifles do in our current version of the game. So I think with these upcoming changes, auto rifles will still put pressure on hand cannons, but you'll still have the opportunity to respond with a hand cannon with a time to kill that actually can do something against an auto rifle in the majority of engagements, which overall is better balanced in my opinion. And both of these weapons having a little bit less potency is going to give the rest of the primary game a little bit more room to shine, and overall we're going to have, I think, a more balanced primary game where different weapon archetypes like scout rifles and pulse rifles and maybe SMGs will all have more of a unique place to shine. And that'll be great because diversity is cool, and I've lost count of what year we are in Destiny. Not a joke, I can't remember it right now, but since we're so far along into it, I think it's about time. It's not just about hand cannons being the overall best anymore. I think it's about everything having a time in the sun and having a lot of diversity, but that's my personal hot take. I do mention though that it will be a more balanced primary metagame because, oh boy, this is technically a time to kill nerf of two of the fastest time to kill weapons in the game. And what does that mean? Shotguns and special weapons are going to be, by proxy, a little stronger because of less pressure on them. But I think that's a discussion for maybe our next video. As always, folks, thanks for listening to me ramble on and all the numbers mumbo jumbo. I thank you guys for listening to my ideas, but I'd like to hear your ideas as well. What do you think about auto rifles in the upcoming meta in relation to hand cannons and the rest of the sandbox? Let me know in the comments. Lastly, check out my mixtape, of course, twitch.tv/Drewskys, and take care, everyone. Have a good one.